Hello and welcome to another edition or another episode, I should say, of the Westies and Besties podcast. Now, this episode is going to be based around nutrition and in particular, raw feeding, raw food. Now, joining me today, I'm proud to have along with us the founder and CEO, Ben, of the UK's fastest growing raw dog feeding or raw dog food manufacturer, I should say, within the UK. So, Ben, thank you very much for your time for jumping on this one. Much appreciated. So, tell us a bit more about why you've been so successful.
Great question, Alex. Great question. I think just from minute one, we've really resonated with our customers. You know, we've put a product out there that, well, initially where the product started from was a desire for me to feed my dog to, a raw diet and a high quality one at that. And I didn't want the inconvenience or the mess of messing around with plastics and, various different packagings and cutting stuff open. So I simply made a product that I was really happy to feed my dogs and then put it in a packaging that was super convenient and easy to handle. Wasn't going to cause me any inconvenience in the day to achieve what I wanted to when feeding them. And then from there, it's grown really quickly. We got into a lot of shops really quickly. There's huge interest in, but there's been a small but growing industry where it gets around really quick. And then we've just met that challenge. You know, each day we work towards it, and we're not shy. We're very ambitious. You know, we're very entrepreneurial in my business, and we're always best foot forward. And we've just strived. We've just went for it. If there's something in front of us, or a demand to meet, we've always worked to meet it. And since day one, that's the attitudes we've had. And yeah, since then, things have been going well. So no complaints from our side.
Excellent. And so, what was a lot of people we interview and we talk with, there's a sort of trigger that happens for them to get into the pet industry, and particularly the nutrition sector. So what was your sort of story before? What actually prompted you to get into this? Was it from your own experiences with your own dogs, or?
Yeah, so my story's a little bit interesting. There's various different reasons, both personally and then when it came to the dogs. There was I was working down on the docks at the time when I had the idea for the business, and a shop had opened up not too far around the corner, selling raw dog food, and I'd never heard of it before, raw dog food. And when something the penny drop moments, the light bulb moments, if you like, and you're like, wow, what a fantastic idea like that. It's exactly what dogs should be eating. And then you question everything you know about feeding dogs, don't you? Thinking, why do we feed them a biscuit? Why do we feed them this, mess in a tin? And why is there something that can, go without going off for 6 years? It can sit on a shelf and not even change its appearance. Why are we feeding that to the wild animal? And then, you start thinking a little bit deeper and you think about the vets, how busy the vets are. And you look into the vets, and there's venture capitalists putting a lot of money into vets at the moment. And you've got to kind of ask yourself why. And then also the workplace I was in at the time was a little bit disgruntled, too many sorts of glass ceilings above me that it just doesn't suit the person I am. So two different things really, a bit of a push and a bit of a pull. Didn't want to just go away from the workplace I was in. And then once I heard about raw food, I was like a dog with a bone, excuse the analogy, but I was I could not get it out of my mind. I was crazed for it. And then, we'd had a dog. We'd had dogs all our lives, but a dog we had called Jake, we rescued him from Carlisle Animal Rescue Centre, an amazing rescue centre up by us and Snowden, throughout the country. We rescued Jake. He was an English Bull Terrier, and when we got him, he was quite overweight, and we always worked to do everything we could to get his weight down. We were a fairly active family. We had the car hops at the house, so he was out all the time. We could just never get on top of his weight, and never give it too much thought, but always knew there was something wasn't quite right. And then at the age of around 7, his liver and his kidneys packed in at the same time, and never understood why. And we looked a little bit into it, and we couldn't kind of figure it out. And then when I found out about raw feeding, you put two and two together, you're like, Jesus Christ. We fed him a cereal biscuit all his life. We would just go to the local shop, buy whatever pet food they had in at the time, and then you Google them things, and the ones in a tin are full of jelly and full of salt and gravy and everything. You think, Jesus Christ, if I had that twice a day, every day for 7 years, I'm sure my liver and kidneys would sort of start packing in. And, that was just bare the fuel on the fire, these discoveries. I'm not saying like Jake was the reason I started the business. That was not the case at all. It was the earlier reasons I said, I wanted to come away from the workplace I was. And then I heard about raw food, and it was just constant fuel to the fire. And we're 3.5 to 4 years into this journey now, and I think I can tell you about 10 different things along the way that have just leveled phenomenal amounts of fuels at our fire. Sometimes the stars just align for you in life and in business, and I constantly feel like that's happening for us as a business and me as a person. Everything is pointing towards to do more of what we're doing, to continue on this journey that we're on. And that just it gets you out of bed in the morning. It adds your motivation to it. It makes them tough days that much easier. And yeah, from minute one, these things have just kept happening, whether that be, coming away from the workplace, finding out about raw feed and finding the right premises, meeting the right people at the right time, learning more about why Jake may have passed away, kidney failure, diseases in dogs. I think it's dogs and cats are the second and third most cancerous things on this planet behind us as humans. And between the three of us, dogs, cats and humans, we have the three most compromised diets on the planet. We don't see lions dying of cancer every day because they're still eating the diet they've had for hundreds of thousands of years. We haven't compromised their diet. And, I think we're doing such a disservice to these animals. It's unbelievable. These animals we all claim to love and adore, and we're feeding products every day without, we're doing it blindly. We don't really know what's in them. It's only been sort of the past 5 years I've had a real awakening to it. But yeah, there's huge growth in the industry for these reasons, if you ask me. And these animals we all adore so much deserve so much better. And that is what's became our mission now, to feed as many as possible with the right diet.
I believe your goal is to feed 100,000 meals a day by 2030. Is that right?
Correct. That's something that we're gearing up towards, and it's quite ambitious. It'll be an awful lot of meals, but it's one I'm very comfortable doing. If we get to 2030 and we haven't done that or beyond, I'll be pretty disappointed. But it is a lofty target, and one that won't be easy to hit, but one I'm very confident me and the current team and the team we're about to build will be able to hit.
Fantastic. Great. So you've just actually moved into some new premises as well, just to cope with demand, yeah?
Yeah. So again, when I go back to saying the stars align for us, there's a site in the area where I grew up, 5 minutes from my parents' house. And it was for sale a few years ago. It's an old meat factory. It's an old sausage factory. So when I say it's perfect for us, like the lines are in, the freezers are in place, the drains are in the floor. It's exactly how a meat factory should be. And then when you're starting off in business, this is something maybe the customer doesn't always see or feel. You don't start off in a meat factory. It's impossible. These things are huge. There's a lot of money to run, and you need to get the wheels turning like every other business. But you also can't start selling to the public or into shops if you're trading out of an old garage, because animal plant and health will never allow it. So you've really got to find that traction early on and that money, if you like, to put into these premises and tick the necessary boxes needed to get where you have to and get your licenses approved and whatnot. And that is what we did earlier on. Moved from one site to the next, and then we just moved from our second site into now what is a purpose-built meat factory. And it's phenomenal. What it's going to do for us over the next 10 years is incredible. And we've touched so lucky to get it. Like normally, businesses don't move into sites this size till, I don't know, 10 years down the line. And just for reference, the site we went in was just over 2,000. This building's 2 stories. The downstairs alone is 25,000 square foot. We've got compounds beyond that. We have car parks upstairs. There's an old bakery upstairs that we can utilize, and further freezers and boiler rooms that we can still make use of. So we're geared up really well, and a lot of things have to come together to make it happen. And it's not been easy at all, but we've been very driven to make it happen because we know what we can do now. We're in here, and already we're seeing the benefits. We're producing record after record. So last week was another record production week, record production month, and we're all super confident that we can, fare that quite easily. Last week was a record production week, and we never produced on Monday for one reason or another. So yeah, we're gearing up really nicely now to kind of cut the volumes and reach a lot more sorts of stockists and independents throughout the country. And beyond, we have a lot of big plans, new products, new lines, new ranges, new packaging, and this just gives us the platform to do that.
Wow. So you're going to be there for the immediate future for the next 10 years then, for the lease where you currently are at the moment. So you're going to be more settled, and you're in the facilities where you're going to be growing into.
100%.
Yeah.
Well,
and particularly from your but you started off with humble beginnings as well. If you could just tell us that story, Ben, because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, so like I said, when I
तो very bad
originally
bum.
started doing this, it was just for my dog. So we started in a really small cafe, a disused cafe that my uncle had at the time. Just because it was decent bit of space, we had to have a tabletop mincer, of course, and them kinds of things. So we started off in there, and the product we started sharing amongst family and friends, and it done really well. From there, we moved to the first unit we had, which was less than desirable, but you do what you do to make it work, and that's exactly what we did. And we ramped up really quickly from there. I didn't expect that. I knew we would do well because we were so driven, and we were going to make it happen, whatever the weather. But the response we got was incredibly busy. We went in about 30 shops in no time at all, and I would run up and down the country and the little Ford family at the time delivering to everyone. We'd be up at 3, 4 in the morning making the product till say 10, 11, and then we'd jumping in the van and we'd going up to Scotland, down to Brighton, whatever it took to get it. We were so naive. When you think of it now, you can send a pallet down for £50. We were spending hundreds of pounds on fuel, wages, and everything else in between. We ran the van into the ground. The engine blew up on the van. We were so naive, but we just worked hard. We worked hard. And in that time, we forged relationships with a lot of incredible people, a lot of great independents who we still work with to this day. And I've been on the phone with some this morning, and others last week who were hitting really, really nice milestones with these guys now, whether that be spends, number of orders, time we've stocked them for. And it's just lovely. We pick the phone up and we talk to a person. We're not calling Tesco, we're not calling out. So we pick the phone up, we talk to the owner of that shop or the person who's on that shop floor every day selling our products. And we have great relationships with them, and we're strengthening them all the time. We have some more offerings coming out for our slackers soon that are just going to propel what we're already doing them. But yeah, that's been a great journey working with stockists. And we just attended Pat's, and we've met a lot more stockists. We're on board with a fair amount from there as well. And it's really exciting times in that sense, but it's all led nicely in the time of moving into the new unit because we'd far outgrown the previous unit. So yeah, it's fell nicely once
that's
again.
Excellent. Brilliant. So in terms of like the ratio, like from independent stockist to your D2C, what sort of ratio is that? Because I know you sell your products on your website as well yourself. So
Yes.
how is that, and how do you see that growing?
It's difficult to say. So initially, when we set up the business, it was just stockists only. Because there was so much desire, we originally only set up to sell online. And in the process of getting that moving and giving out samples and word of mouth, we ended up stocking some stockists. That was never really the plan. So we went from 0 to 32 really quickly, and then from there we moved units, and then we got up to about 60ish, something around that number. And I could not tell you what the number is at the moment. I think we're approaching just over 100, but that's getting stronger. But we've really focused on working on them relationships and growing them. So, people used to buy 2 to 3 boxes, or one of each box per month. So 19 boxes per month. And now placing orders of 120 boxes per week. Them relationships have grown phenomenally, and we're very proud of that. And then in terms of the split, it's just really, really difficult to say. We spent a lot of time just knuckling down on certain things we were doing. So the first 18 months of the business was all B2B. Then we launched the website and pushed on the website. So the website really caught up quickly. And now I definitely think we're back towards B2B. And that's definitely where we want to be. Like, them relationships are so fulfilling. And there's a lot of competition pushing websites, and that you've got people in the industry who are VC backed now, and they have an awful lot of money to push into Google advertisements and Facebook advertising and that kind of stuff. And we're not too keen to push on that too much. We like the organic side of stuff. We like speaking on the phone and dealing with our customers directly rather than behind the screen the best we can, given the fact that we cover the whole country. So it's varied, and I could not tell you the split off the top of my head, but what is appealing to us and what's working for us is B2B stockists and independents in particular. That is where we are focusing 100%. The industry's changed so much, even though it's still growing. The B2Bs need all the support in the world. They are the backbone. Independent stockists are the backbone of this industry. And just because supermarkets and other people are now moving into it, and your big kibble companies are undoubtedly starting to buy in or release what they believe is fresh foods, which is the furthest thing from fresh food. We can't take away from what independents have done. This industry wouldn't be anywhere near where it is at the moment without independents doing what they've done. and we fully plan on backing them and supporting them, working with them as much as we can for as long as we can.
Great, fantastic. So there's been a huge awakening really in regards to focusing on nutrition for dogs and also for cats too. So that's why you've experienced this sort of like boom within the raw feeding sort of sector then, Ben, would it?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think the industry is growing really, really well, but I think we're growing really well inside the industry as well. I think that the industry is an experience to go for the I still think we've grown pretty well. If it weren't naturally growing, just because of the effort we're putting in, best foot forward. If something's available to us, we're going to go and get it. We are going to be at the forefront of everything we can be, and we're not doing it. There's no marketing gurus in here. There's no VC money in here. There's no one behind us. There's no one I answer to. Like this business is mine, and I will take it as far as I can with that sort of setup and that mentality. And that is what will continue to grow as at the rate we are growing. The no nonchalance. There's the unpolitically correct, if you like. We're not trying to play it in anyone's playbook. We are just trying to get our product out there as far and wide as possible and get as many dogs as possible on this raw diet, and give them the diet as if that I thoroughly believe that they should be eaten, and take them off the stuff that they shouldn't be eating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally 100% behind that. Absolutely. So the selection and the options that customers have is over 19 different sort of flavors as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 19 now, and initially we
Wow.
grew the menu, if you like, pretty quickly, and that stagnated as growth is where it is. And again, it's the backstory behind that. It's not always easy to get meat, and given the current climate, and bring different variations. And we can bring out 20 chicken products. We can bring out every blend of chicken you like, every blend of turkey you like. But again, it's not a race that we're looking to run too much because everybody's doing it, and that's already available out there. Can we do it with the quality we're already doing it? Probably not. So we're not going to go down that route. Every time we bring a product out of the product that, we'll stand on the hill and shout about. So we have to be deadly certain about what we're doing before we really execute on that. And that's something that came with growth. We are a little bit slower with new products, but there's so many good reasons behind that. We could knock 3 new products out every week, of course we could, but it'd just be different blends of what we're already doing. It's not actually a new product. It's just a different variation of the existing product. But the new premises now, and we're recruiting as it stands, we're going to expand the team. That will enable further scope, and we have got a couple of products pending that we're really excited to get out there. And it's been in high demand for a while. Christmas is coming, so we'll have some nice minters for Christmas, and then maybe a new packaging design sometime next year too, which will be super exciting, and we can put out to market.
Awesome. Fantastic. And you also provide first-time raw feeding customers a bit of a guide as well to help them through the steps of migrating the sort of their dogs from the kibble, the dry stuff, the nasty stuff, up to what they're supposed to be, really what nature intended, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So we know it can be daunting. I remember putting our dogs on raw for the first time, and I was brave into it. And I had a German Shepherd, and I also had a English Bull Terrier. So 2 dogs, you can give them anything and they will eat it. So the transition wasn't too bad for me, and it's not as daunting or as precise as people make out. You can do it your own way and kind of make it work. There's people who use a lot of fear that you have to do this, and this, and this. And of course, there's a really good way of doing it, but I don't think we should be selling fear behind doing it. There's a way to do it. But like anything, you can transition from one thing to another. There will be 1,000 ways to do that. We've just put something together that we believe is nice and simple. We hold the hands of someone who's not fed raw before, encourage them. We give them everything they need, including the bowl, the guide, the feed, and what to feed them when, what to feed if your dog is this age, and support them that way, just to make it less daunting for them. But people really need to relax about this. This is not this big, scary thing. We're not giving your dog something that's going to make it ill and this, that, and the other. Quite the contrary, we're giving it something that's going to take it away from the vets and keep it a bit healthier. But yeah, it's that education behind it, letting people know that it's absolutely fine to move on to this, feed this, and that's been successful for us, letting people know, and just hand holding a little bit to get them over that line. And we get the email 3 weeks in, like, my dog's eating everything in sight now, and he's got his own freezer, and we've put £200 order in, and my local shop is now selling this. Can my dog have it? So it's nice to see both ends of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, it's the scaremongering done by the bigger corporates who are sort of sweating a little bit in regards to the revolution hitting not
Yes.
just this country, but other countries as well.
Yeah.
I mean, even just in regards to the storage of the food, I mean, uh, we all know this, that you don't put raw food next to cooked meats in a fridge. And it's the same sort of thing. You know,
Yep.
we always reserve a bottom shelf if you can. I know not
Hmm.
everybody's got big fridges, they've got smaller ones, but on
Yeah.
shelf, aside from everything else, all the open meat on the top shelf, perhaps.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of, right, okay, it's not a scary thing. Have a look at the people who are trying to scare and fear among you
Uh-huh.
and what's in it for them. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's great to see that these businesses like yourselves actually wanting to help walk them down the path to explain everything in detail. Um, yeah, so you get a lot of good feedback as well. They've been there
Yeah,
from the
we do.
customers, like,
We do. If you don't mind, Alex, I'll just touch on something on what you just said there, just to add some reassurance to any listener for the listening. The
mhm,
way we are sort of licensed, we're stricken to certain things that we absolutely have to do and have to prove and abide to ensure we can trade. And I go into my local butchers. We buy a lot of meat. You know, we're big meat eaters in my house, and we order online or we go to local butchers. We are inspected, I would say, 1,000 times more than your local butchers. The reason behind the scaremonger and the fear behind raw is that it remains raw. It is not cooked. But there's no greater risk than the products we sell and the steaks you buy from the shop. In fact, I would go as far as saying the products we sell is much safer than the meat you buy in the shops. We're tested and scrutinized a lot more. And the reason behind that is because it's not cooked. If you have a steak that has something that's not quite right, you're going to cook it at a decent temperature that's likely going to kill it. But there is a flaw in this, I'm going to get criticism for saying this, but there is a flaw in that mechanism. So they say they inspect us a lot more and we have to adhere to stricter standards because it remains raw. And I understand that. But that steak you buy is raw at the time of buying. To get that steak in a pan, you have to pick it up or use a utensil. So that is the exact same level of risk than it is to using a utensil or picking our product up and tipping it into the bowl. Whether you're tipping it into the bowl or into the frying pan, it's the same level of risk. So if that product has salmonella, then regardless of whether you're tipping it into the frying pan or into the bowl, salmonella is present there. So the theory behind, well, the steak is cooked and it'll kill any antibodies that shouldn't be there or so on and so forth. It's not relevant because you have to unbox that packaging and that packaging is unboxed in your kitchen and raw. So you can feel really confident buying and from an approved establishment raw meats because we are inspected to the eyeballs. The testing we have to adhere to is so strict. We have full traceability of everything. If something does go wrong, what we have to do, it's great what we have to do. The processes in place and the guidance that's given to us that we have to adhere to is great. But there is strict protocols in place. There's no risk. The way people will look at it and think, wow, it's dog food. It's approved meat is what it is. And it's probably gone down a more stricter path than the steaks and the chicken wings that you already have in the fridge. And exactly like you just said, you wouldn't just chuck a chicken wing in the fridge. It will be in a container with the lid on or sealed. Just handle the meat the same way. You don't need to make any bigger, more or less of a deal of it. It's just that it's classed as category 3. When it comes from a site like mine, it cannot be classed as fit for human consumption. So that is why it has to be kept separate and looked after. But the actual quality of the meat, it should be exactly the same, if not better than what you're buying from the supermarkets.
yeah, I think people have more questions in regards to where the food is sourced from their dog than from the food that they actually eat themselves.
Mhm.
And
So you'd be
it's
very
strange,
surprised.
isn't it?
I'm not gonna name our suppliers and give away my secret, but
Yeah.
our meat and trims and everything we buy all comes from a huge supermarket that is considered, a well-to-do brand, and they put out hundreds of thousands of kilos of the exact same meat as we're selling in house. I'll be one wagon goes one way and one goes the other, and one of them arrives at my plant and the other one arrives at the supermarkets. Like we're not picking up off the floor or buying our meat on the back streets.
Yeah.
The supermarkets have that much meat and whatnot available to them. They have to do something with the offcuts, the trimmings, the stuff that is a little bit discoloured. They have to do something with it, and it's not a couple hundred kilo in it. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tons, and that is what we will buy. So your dog is eating as good as you.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's good. I think the with the legislation and the tape that you have to get in all the paperwork from DEFRA, I believe as well. They're
Yep.
very they're sort of on the ball as well, which you are certified,
Mhm.
aren't you, from DEFRA?
Yeah, 100%. So different
Yeah,
animal planting healthy.
yeah,
And that they will legislate us and the supermarkets as well. Anyone that handles raw material from an animal, they will legislate. So they will come and see me, and then they will go to Tesco's, Morrison's. That they will handle everything, and they'll go to the slaughterhouse that we all buy from. They see the whole journey of it, and we're all held to that account, and we all sort of report or answer to the same people. But yeah, they're very they're very on the ball. They're great. I've got such good experiences with them, touch wood. And you hear different sort of manufacturers or different people throughout the country. Everybody has their own vet. So a vet will cover a certain area, and the vet that covers our area is absolutely amazing. I've actually got a missed call off. I'm going to call her back this afternoon, but I can call in now and ask her a question. I can pop her an email over. And I've said this a couple of times on a couple of different podcasts. The first time she called me when I put in the application to become a category approved site, she called me and she said, I don't want you worried. I'm going to do everything I can to support you to get this application. I'm not here to tear you down. What a great way to say it. Since then, we've had a great relationship. I'm not scared to pick the phone up to her and vice versa. And we really do work together. This is great for advice. But you have to be careful how much advice we give out. But it's a real good working relationship. It's not something that people in my industry should fear. If your manufacturer is complaining, fearing these people, and chances are they're not adhering to exactly what they should be, and it will be a red flag in my opinion. We have a great relationship with Animal Plant and Health, and we plan for that to continue.
excellent, fantastic. So it sounds like it's very rare when you hear of like a body like that actually working in tandem with you to help.
Yeah,
Normally they're quite they're trying to make it as difficult as possible, basically. Which
yeah,
is great
I think
because this gives reassurances to your consumer.
yeah, absolutely, 100%. That is something that alluding to my previous point, that the consumer should have confidence in the person they're working with or the person that regulates them. And that's what we should. You will want to see cohesion between the person who's supplying the products and the person who regulates them. Like, you don't want to see them at war at all. And I know a lot of
Right.
government bodies are possibly underfunded or, facing difficult times with so many changes in government and that thing. And luckily, we have not felt that, the person we deal with. That's why it's in touch lucky throughout the country, because you can end up with any vet. It just depends on what region you're in. And various vets will allow things that others won't, whether that's the packaging they go in, if it's leak proof, the toss of the coin of that. It all falls down to the vet that visits you. But we're very lucky with the lady that comes and visits us. She's absolutely spot on. She's so meticulous and to the point, but real sort of a people person as well. You can challenge her or have a discussion with her or put some things to her, and she'll support you. It's not black and white. She's not trying to kill you. She's not out to close your business. She's out to support you, but doing it by meeting the necessary needs.
Great. Sound like a great partnership. Fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
great. So you mentioned so there's going to be a launching of some other products. Are they going to
Yep.
be like different types of meat, or are there going to be something different?
So, yes, yes and no. We're always being challenged. So if you look at our range now, not everything's the same. We don't have everything in 80-10-10. We try to cater to dogs who can't have too much bone. We can't have any often like your Dalmatians and that kind of stuff. We want to offer the best we can, but trying to do that across a range of 19 products can be difficult. So we're very aware we need to bring out more of the same, and that's more offal free, more bone free, more 80-10-10s. And we definitely plan to do that as long as we can sort of achieve the quality that we currently work to. But there will be other ranges that we're looking to bring out, which will be, turning thing completely on its head, and maybe adding some more stuff in. And yeah, I don't want to say too much too soon, but we're definitely, we're going to do more of the same and a lot of different stuff. And then we're also going to really do something in the packaging side of things. We're going to bring something out that I don't think's been seen before in our industry, and that will definitely make a difference to the consumer. And I'm very excited to do that.
Brilliant, fantastic. There's one thing I'd like to touch on here, Ben, as well, if you don't mind, is in regards to the vets and the vet nurses up and down the country, and we know that they don't get taught a lot on nutrition at their colleges. So how are you feeling? Do you get much support or queries, questions, etc., from the veterinary sort of practices or vets and veterinary nurses who want
It's
to find out
interesting.
more about?
We
Yeah,
do.
sorry.
So yes, 100%. We're absolutely seeing more of that of intrigued vets, and then if you take to Google, you'll find a lot more holistic vets now, or vets who are only recommending a raw or natural diet, not recommending this. But you just have to ask yourself, this debate is rumbling on now. Well, the vet says this and the vet says that. We just have to take a step back. It's not the vet where I have an issue with. I'll talk from sort of a third person here. I have no issue with any vet. Like, vets have gone to university and studied the way they have to help animals and keep animals, who were sick and, get them back to full health. I've never had an issue with a personal vet. We have to look at who owns the vet. So if we look at the amount of companies now, the amount of vet practices in the country that are now Medivet, we need to follow that back uphill. Who owns Medivet? And then who owns them? And you will find everything follows back to Purina, Nestle, Mars Pet Care, that kind of thing. The same people who are creating Mars bars and kibble. Like, it just doesn't add up. You cannot have the person who creates the supply and the demand in the same industry, and that is exactly what's happened. If you go to your doctor and say, I feel terrible, I've got arthritis in one joint and potentially even have cancer, and they say to you, okay, here is a biscuit that's got 4% meat in, it's got some sugar in, and it's got about 80% carbs in. And them carbs were the cheapest ones we can find. And for good measure, we flew a load of brown rice in there. You're going to sit there and think, this guy wants me dead. And then he's going to say to you 6 months later, I need to put you under. It's going to cost £1,000 to put you under. I'm going to do some scans. I'm going to scan you and charge you another £1,000. And then I'm going to put you on this pill for the rest of your life. But keep eating that food that I've recommended, because that's doing you good. It just does not make sense and should not be allowed. It's got to be. I always said, Alex, there'll be a Netflix documentary, and then I realized there's already a Netflix documentary talking about this. It just tied right into the people who own these and what's going into these dog foods. Kibble was a World War II invention when meat was hard to come by. Me and you couldn't get meat if we wanted to. So we couldn't, there was not enough for the dogs, fair enough. That is not the case anymore. We've got meat aplenty, and the dog will eat anything. It'll eat the carcass, it'll eat the wings, it'll eat the bones, it'll eat the offals, it'll eat the tripes. So there's no need that the scarcity mindset has to stop. It's just that it's so profitable to make the product that cheap that that's maintained. But these people are not out for the benefit of your dog whatsoever. It's quite the opposite. My local vet is now being taken over by Medivet. My local vet recommends Hills, Royal Canin, and one other. And not only do they recommend them, they give you 10% off. How can a vet give you 10% off? Imagine your doctor giving you 10% off from the supermarket. You'd be thinking, this isn't right. I heard an Australian guy, I can't remember his name. I'll try and think of it because he's a great guy. And he said, imagine that the doctor feeding you something like that, and also that product that they're selling you makes up 40% of the revenue that vet makes. It's just not good. The vet is profiting off your illness and the food that makes you ill. It's just stinks top to bottom. And the realization, it's happening fast. But in my opinion, nowhere near as fast as it should be.
Well, it makes you think as well that the dog obesity crisis in the UK, there's 60% of dogs, I think it might even be higher, but conservatively 60% of dogs in the UK are obese. And the kibble market has 80% of the market share of the pet food industry. So, I mean, don't take an Einstein to work out the correlation, do they?
Exactly. It's exactly that. And when you feed your dog, 80% of their food is carbs. You feed them carbs twice a day, every day, 52 weeks a year for hopefully 10 years. But again, there's so many points we can touch on here. Why my grandparents had dogs. They all lived to 15, 16, 17, 18. I've just told the story of Jake, who passed away at 7. Jake was an active dog, other than his nutrition, and his nutrition was diabolical when I think about it. But why are dogs dying so much earlier? Why are dogs so ill? Why are dogs having so many skin issues? Why are dogs full of allergies? We've got to be asking these questions. It was once a wild animal. They're now suffering from an allergy to chicken, the thing they used to hunt in the fields and eat, and now they're allergic to it. Like, we've got to be asking these questions. And again, something else, are they actually allergic to chicken, or are they allergic to the grain that the chicken's being fed on all its life? It's just it's an ever evolving thing that leads back to the dog's diet. Every single time it will come back to the dog's diet. If you read some of our reviews and requesting your theory about how well we're reviewed, I think we're 4.8, 4.9 over the Trustpilot. We're over 1,000 reviews now. People think we're working miracles, that the dog has now got its hair grown back and it's eating its meals and it doesn't need its antibiotics anymore and it's off the anti-inflammatories and its ears and its paws aren't swelling up anymore. We've just taken the stuff out of its diet that was causing that to happen. Our food's amazing, but what we take off the plate that shouldn't be there is even more amazing. Just return them to what you should be, back to basics. They can't make that decision. They rely on us to make it for them, and we should be doing that properly. And if someone feeds me a bowl of meat twice a day, I'll be a happy man as well.
Well, that's it. If a human being's in good shape, it's always referred as the fitter than a butcher's dog, because the butcher's dog was eating raw. It's simple.
Yeah. Exactly.
But again,
that.
It's we're not trying to shame people or anything like that at all. It's just because these guys have got so much money, they spend so much money in advertising. I think a few years ago they were spending 37 to 40 million a year in the UK, TV advertising, print advertising. So they've got big budgets for that. So you just automatically think, oh, pedigree chummy is great. It's just the way it's been marketed, because they won't allow anyone else to go on the same platform to say, they're talking rubbish. Here's what your dog should really be having, and here's the evidence and proof to back it up. But the reason, again, going back, as we mentioned at the start, your success story is just sort of like exploded over the past 3.5, 4 years. And that's because I feel people are more aware, there's more information out there for them to base informed decisions to say, you're right, at least try it. As you know, Ben, we had a Westie, Buffy. The first few years of his little life, he was on the kibble. But then when we relocated back to the UK, we put him on a raw diet. And then near the end of his life, we were doing fresh. So we still have like mincemeat or raw food, but then we'd put other things like vegetables and broccoli and other portions and powders and stuff that he needed, because his kidneys, did they form naturally and properly at a puppy stage of his life whilst eating this crap, basically. How can it? It's like a newborn being fed McDonald's every day of its life for the first 2 years.
100%.
What's going on inside? The guy who supersized me, that documentary he did, is currently no longer with us. But again, so it's great to see that your success is based on the amount of awakening from people who want the very best for their dogs.
Yeah. It's not even that. We want to make it so everybody wants the best for the dogs, and it'd be difficult to say someone doesn't. And obviously there's a small minority of everyone in every sort of walk of life, but everyone wants the best for their dog, in my opinion. It does not mean we have to single them out and, only the people who feed raw want the best for their dogs. That's not true. Like you just said, these companies have got £40 million a year on advertising, that they've got a dreadful product, but they've sprinkled a magic multivitamin on it and that solves all the dog's problems. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But I fully understand that. I fed my dogs kibble and tins for a long, long time before the penny dropped, and now I am quite ashamed of that. Well, I'm not ashamed in the sense of, it's marketed so strongly and so well. That was what everybody knows as dog food. But you can do this on any budget. We just need to make sure that raw and natural feeding becomes dog food. It doesn't have to be, it should not become raw dog food. It should become the normal and become dog food. What is called dog food is not, the current status of this market, that is not dog food. That's a cereal-based kibble. If you had shredded wheat for your breakfast every day, you wouldn't call it dinner when you ate it. You'd say that cereal can be dinner, and that's what we're feeding dogs as well. We need to ensure that this just becomes normal. This is exactly what dogs should be eating, and we're going to provide it to them the best, most simple, efficient way we can. Some dog owners don't want to know what's in liver, and they don't want to understand if the dog should be eating this, that, and the other every day, and that's absolutely fine. It's a job for companies like mine to ensure we can make a simple enough product that they can buy and feed twice a day and be confident that that dog's getting everything it needs across a 7-day period. And that's what we aim to do. It's not as easy as people think to achieve that across 2 meals. That's why variety is so key. But we need to make sure everything's covered. across a 7-day period. And if people want to mix that up and add their own in, amazing. But for the person who doesn't want to do that, we've got that covered. We can keep it nice and simple for you and get you what you need in that bowl of food, and your dog will absolutely thrive on it.
But yeah, for smaller dogs like terriers, like Westies, for example, they don't eat too much unless you get a proper gannet. But if you compare it in regards to a Starbucks coffee at £6, your tubs start from £2.85. So for a couple of your raw tubs, that could last a Westie a whole week for the cost of one coffee from Starbucks. So when you put it into that perspective, how much money is somebody going to be saving if they're on kibble from the vets by putting them over onto a raw diet as well? I mean, it takes time. Look, any transitions takes. But when you're thinking it from an economic standpoint, it makes so much more sense. Never mind the health aspects and the health benefits,
Yeah. That's another rumour in the pet food industry, that raw food's expensive. It's absolutely not expensive. Don't look at the price of the beef I sell and walk to the supermarket and you'll realise that our beef's really good value. But then you've got to ask yourself, you're buying a kibble that claims that it's full of beef, and I seen some in Tesco's the other day. It was £11 for 10 kilos. How are you selling premium beef at £11 for 10 kilos? The question should not be, why is raw so expensive? It should be, why is kibble so cheap? Surely that should be alarm bells. If I said to you, I've got the best sirloin steaks in the world and they're £1 each, you are not going to believe me. But when it's put in a dog's bowl, we all think that's not the case at all. These products are made with stuff that should not be in there. There's fillers in there that are dirt cheap, carbs, grains, cereals, everything else. They should not be in there. That is why you can sell 10 kilos at £11. We cannot buy at anywhere near that rate, let alone sell at that rate. Like, it's just go to the supermarket, go to the cheapest supermarket you can find, and find the cheapest bit of meat in there, and you still will not get close to it.
Exactly, and they're still making a profit off that as well.
A huge profit. Well, if they can spend £40 million on advertising per year, how much money are they making?
Yeah. But yeah, it's hundreds of billions. I mean, it's one of the richest families in America, the Mars family.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a reason for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's really good stuff. It's fantastic what you guys are doing. I mean, in the short space of time that you've been doing it, it's great. And I love the fact as well about the culture, because we've met face to face a few times as well, Ben, just for transparency to our audience.
Mm-hmm.
But the feel they get from you guys, you're all working together as one team. You all have you've all got great personalities. You all know what you got to do, and you're all doing it for the right reasons. And that's, I know there's a lot of other companies as well in the pet industry doing that, and there's more coming on to the scene. But there's a lot of the I'll just say the kibble companies out there don't have that sort of feel or feeling that you get from people like yourself who are legit and doing it for the absolute right reasons. You're making a change. You're in the world, you know what I mean? And you're starting from Liverpool, start with the UK, and you're further pushing that. That's great to see. It's really good. Congratulations again on your success, Ben. And is there anything that you would like to say to the audience, people watching this, just as an added little takeaway?
Yeah, just again to that favour to what you just said. What you just said is on the money, Alex. But like, I've built a business and a team here. We believe in what we're doing. We go to bed every night thinking about it. Wake up in the morning thinking, "Oh, what we're all going to do." We recruit people who, have got dogs but have never fed raw before, and now, like, I think you've met Alex, who's our front of house. Alex came when she started with us. Her dogs were on kibble, and they had these anti-inflammatories, and didn't eat the food every day, and something else. And when she first started introducing raw, they only liked chicken and tripe, didn't like anything else. She had to work on it. Now them dogs, they're very healthy dogs. The hair is long and luscious, which it's never been before. They eat everything under the sun. You don't need to go to the dentist every month now for the teeth cleaning. The anti-inflammatory bill is no longer for Alex, which is great. And she now thinks dog food is what dogs have had for thousands of years. And that's Alex who works for us. That voucher wants to be emailed when our customers send one or our stockers send something in. She is now front of house for us, and she's embodying everything that we're about. and all we're going to be about for the next however many years that we can do this for and how far we can grow. But you're exactly right on what we're saying. We're very, very passionate about what we do. And when you go to work and you do something that you absolutely love doing, you're passionate about and you're driven to do and we're profitable doing it, can you bring many more sort of amazing traits together? I think we'll struggle to find this in any other workplace. And we're trying that message that we're hearing from the customers all the way back to the guys who are packing meat and loading the wagons, like that give them a lot of purpose for what they're doing. They need to know that, we the other day, I think we made 3.5 ton. That's 7,000 tubs that went up that day. That's 7,000 dogs fed. Like, that's an incredible amount of food. It's minor compared to how many dogs in the country. But that day, there's 7,000 meals made for dogs, and every one of them we are confident in. We are sending something out into the world with love and that we're so proud of, and we're confident it's going to do exactly what it's intended to do and what nature intended to. This is not our design, it is nature's design. We're just lucky that we get to be involved in the process somewhere. So it's a real nice feeling from front to back of the business. And when them reviews come in, when we hear them feedback to when the photos get sent in of a dog that was once bald, full of hair, the stories are endless. People can just hop over to our Trustpilot. I'm not making these things up. They're all on there for them to go and review. And we've done some case studies on the website too, but you can't emphasize enough how much this will benefit your dog, not only removing the stuff that shouldn't be in its bowl, but adding all these things in that they've had for thousands of years. It takes a little bit of time, but the benefits out there that are available to your dog from such simple things. And, we'll get it to you next day. We'll get it to the shop at the end of the door for you. We'll make it as easy as possible. We can't match the convenience of kibble, but kibble's designed to be convenient for the owner, not designed for the benefit of the pet. That is exactly what we're doing. We're doing it for the benefit of your pet.
Brilliant. Awesome. So where can people find you guys?
You can find us everywhere. Hopefully you're going to find us in your local independent pet shop soon. But if you search Mersey or in any fashion on any social medias, or on the internet, you'll find us, and you'll find us there showing our message.
Great. The website is www.merseyraw.com.
Correct, yeah. And then all socials is just at Mersey Raw.
Brilliant. Fantastic. That's excellent. Ben, thank you again for your time. It's great to see all the fantastic work that you're doing. And the other day, we know that you just told us there's 7,000 dogs who are very appreciative of what you're actually doing. So on behalf of them, thank you as well. I'm sure there's a few Westies in there.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, mate. Thank you to you.
Oh, you're welcome. Look, for our audience, if you have any questions or any sort of queries, concerns at all, feel free to send some questions over to us. I'm sure Ben will be more than happy to come back on again at a later date to answer those questions for you in terms of my dog is on kibble. How do I get him over onto a raw diet? What are the types of flavors that will best suit my Westie? Any sort of types of questions. Then we're happy to answer those for you. So Ben, again, thank you very much for joining us there, buddy. And keep on the fantastic work you're doing.
Yeah, worlds of art. Thank you for having us on, mate. It's really appreciated.
You're welcome. All right, mate. All the best. Cheers now. Take care. Hi, we hope you loved today's episode of the Westies and Besties podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment, and tune in for the next episode. Now, if you'd like to be a guest, please feel free to contact us on the details below, as we would be delighted to share your story and to meet your Westie.